Hey guys, in this lesson and in the next couple lessons, we're going to start putting names to go with the ratios that we talked about in the last lesson. The first one we're going to take a look at is tangent. Tangent is given a reference angle. The tangent of an angle is the ratio of the opposite over the adjacent. So remember when we were doing opposite over adjacent as one of those three ratios? That's for the tangent. And the way it's going to look is tangent of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. So that's the way it's read, and the way it'll look is if we're using angle A here, tangent of angle A is equal to, in this case, if we look, this is our reference angle, opposite is going to be the one that's directly across from it, adjacent is the one that's not the hypotenuse. So that's going to be our hypotenuse because it's across from our 90-degree angle, so I'll make that one be our adjacent. So tangent of an angle is going to be equal to opposite over adjacent, or in this case, tangent of A is going to be equal to BC over AC. You can also do the cotangent. Cotangent is used more whenever you get into things like trig, pre-calc, and calculus, but it's something that they could definitely still ask you about. Cotangent is basically the reciprocal of tangent. And if you notice, given a reference angle, the tangent of an angle is going to be the adjacent over the opposite. So we'd have cotangent of an angle is going to be equal to adjacent over opposite. And you can see how this one was opposite over adjacent, and if you flip it or do the reciprocal of it, it's going to be adjacent over opposite. So if we do that for this triangle here, this is still going to be our opposite, this is still going to be our adjacent. So cotangent, in this case angle A, is going to be equal to adjacent, which is AC, over opposite, which is BC. And they could also ask you to solve for the angle given sides. And in order to do that, you've got to do the inverse tangent. And it's basically the way that you solve for the angle in a right triangle given an opposite side and an adjacent side. So they'll ask you, what is angle A? They'll give you a value for BC and AC. And the way that'll look is you'll take your tangent of an angle is going to be equal to, it's still opposite over adjacent, and then you do the inverse tangent. Inverse tangent is kind of like, it's the opposite. So like if you're going to undo plus, you subtract. If you're going to undo divide, you're going to multiply. If you're going to undo tangent, you're going to do the inverse tangent. So the inverse tangent, because we want A to be on the outside and be equal, opposite over adjacent goes in here, and that's going to give you your angle A. And in this case, the inverse tangent would be opposite would be BC over AC, and you would be given numbers. You put this into your calculator and it'll tell you what angle A is. We start trying them out. Looking at the first one, it says calculate the tangent of the indicated angle in each triangle. Write your answer in simplest form. That means they still want to be the square, they still want to see the square roots, and they want you to simplify your fractions. So they want us to do the tangent. So going back to our definition, tangent of an angle is going to be equal to opposite over adjacent. So in this case, we're doing Angle C is our reference angle, so that makes this one be our opposite and this one be our adjacent. So tangent of C is going to be equal to, the opposite in this case is going to be 25 over adjacent is going to be 20. So the tangent for C is going to be equal to 25 over 20 is going to simplify to 5/4. And that's all they want us to do for those. If they wanted us to find C, they would say calculate the missing angle. But they didn't say calculate the missing angle, they just said calculate tangent. So that's all they need us to do for that one. Looking at the next one, they say use a calculator to approximate the tangent ratio. So with this, when you're looking at your calculator and you're using a calculator, and it doesn't matter which one you're using, you're going to want to double check and make sure that you're in degree mode. A lot of the scientific calculators will say on the face whether or not they're in degrees. They usually either say DEG or RAD. If yours says RAD, you're going to want to go into the setup somewhere and tell it that you want it degrees. And if you have trouble figuring out where that is on your calculator, let me know and I'll show you. So for these, it just says do tangent of 30. So I'm going to go to my tangent button and hit tangent of 30 and hit equals. And it's going to want decimals, and mine automatically puts it into radicals, but that's what yours should say. And it says round to the nearest hundredth. So if I look, we've got 0.57735. And hundredths is going to be 2 decimal spots. So this 7 is bigger than a 5, so this is the tangent of 30 is going to be equal to 0.58. And that's our answer for those. And that's how you do all those. You just type them in, and then first 2 decimal spots, and you round them. Looking at next one, they want us to calculate the cotangent, and this is a basic, just use the definition just like we did in the first one. So looking at our definition, we've got cotangent of an angle is going to be equal to adjacent over opposite. So if this is our reference angle F, this is opposite, this is adjacent. So cotangent, and the angle in this case is F, is going to be equal to adjacent is 2 square root of 6 over 6. And if we look, we've got 2/6 right there, and that's not simplified. And if we simplify 2/6, it's going to be 1/3. So the cotangent of F is going to be equal to 1 times the square root of 6, which is going to be the square root of 6 over 3. Because remember, we simplified that 2/6 to 1/3. So cotangent of F is going to be equal to square root of 6 over 3.